The blue-white marble of Earth hung in the darkness, its colonies on Mars and Europa barely visible as tiny lights in the vast emptiness of space. The year was 2157, and humanity had spread throughout their solar system, building and growing with each passing decade. John Carter stood at the viewport of the shuttle, adjusting his formal diplomatic uniform. His heart beat faster as the massive alien ship came into view. The vessel dwarfed anything humans had built, its hull shimmering with strange metals unknown to Earth science. 5 minutes until docking, Ambassador, said the pilot. John nodded. Thank you. He turned to Lisa Nguyen, his chief diplomat. Ready? Lisa smiled, though her eyes showed tension. As ready as anyone can be for humanity's first meeting with an interstellar government. The shuttle docked with a soft thud. John led his team of 5 diplomats through the airlock. They were greeted by beings of different shapes and colors. Some looked almost human. Others were so different that John's mind struggled to make sense of their forms. A tall, blue-skinned alien stepped forward. Welcome to the Galactic Council vessel Harmony. I am Delegate Sirith of the Illyri people. We speak for the 42 species who form our union. John bowed slightly. Ambassador John Carter of United Earth, we are honored by your presence in our system. The aliens led the humans to a large room with a round table. Various beings sat or floated around it. Some breathed through masks, others had skin that shifted colors as they moved. Your rapid development is unusual, said a small, gray alien with large eyes. Most species take twice as long to reach your level of technology. Humans are curious by nature, John replied, and sometimes stubborn. Lisa Nguyen studied the complex seating arrangement and noticed a pattern. She quietly guided John to the seat that showed highest respect according to their formation. The alien delegates exchanged looks of surprise. A tall insect-like being clicked its mandibles. I am Security Chief Cravler of the Vnar. Your species shows unusual adaptability. This can be concerning. John smiled politely. We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge. An ancient-looking alien with skin like bark spoke in a deep voice. I am Elder Jovac of the Thavi. We offer humanity protected status, as is custom for young species. We will guard your worlds and guide your development. The room fell silent. The aliens clearly expected grateful acceptance. John looked at Lisa, who gave a tiny nod. We appreciate the generous offer, John said carefully. However, humanity respectfully requests consideration for full membership instead. The room erupted in strange sounds. Alien laughter and shock. Impossible, buzzed Cravler. Your species is barely space-capable by Council standards. Yet you came to us, John pointed out. And we understood you. We adapted to your communication methods, your protocols, your very presence, all within hours of first contact. Lisa stepped forward. We studied your diplomatic signals for days before responding. We learned your basic customs from your first broadcasts. Humans are quick learners. Elder Zovac's eyes narrowed. You decoded our standard greeting protocols without assistance. Yes, Lisa said simply. The elder turned to the others, speaking in a language the translation devices didn't catch. The aliens seemed disturbed yet interested. Finally, Delegate Sirith turned back to the humans. This is unprecedented, but not forbidden. We offer provisional membership status. No species has ever jumped directly to this level before their first century of contact. John smiled. We accept with gratitude. Later, back on the shuttle, Lisa looked worried. They underestimate us. Good, John replied, watching the alien ship through the viewport. They see us as clever children. That gives us time. Time for what? To prepare. John's face grew serious. Did you see how they reacted to our request? There's something they're not telling us about this galaxy, something that makes them nervous about species like ours. The shuttle turned toward Earth, carrying the news that humanity had taken its first steps into a much larger universe. And for the first time, That universe was paying attention. 5 years passed since first contact. Earth had changed. Alien technology appeared in everyday life. Strange visitors walked the streets of major cities. Humans traveled to distant worlds on exchange programs and trade missions. Alan Cruz adjusted his glasses as he stared at the complex equations on the screen. The lab around him buzzed with activity as alien scientists worked alongside humans. They were developing new, faster-than-light communication systems. "You approached this problem strangely," said Grell, a blue-skinned Alari scientist. "Most species follow established methods." Alan smiled. "Humans like to try new angles. Sometimes we find shortcuts." Grell made a musical sound that meant laughter. "This is why the Traxians enjoy your kind so much. They call humans the monkeys who think sideways." Alan didn't mind the nickname. The Traxians, a race of merchant aliens, had become Earth's biggest trading partners. They loved human art, music, and creativity. Across the solar system, humans worked with aliens, learning and adapting. On Mars colony, Karen Miller served as cultural attaché to the alien embassies. She noticed how other species treated humans, with outward respect but hidden doubt. "They think we're clever children," Karen told her colleague as they watched a Vavi delegation tour the colony. "They praise us to our faces but talk differently when alone." Her colleague shrugged. "Let them underestimate us. It's worked in our favor so far." Indeed, humanity had gained a surprising amount of influence in 5 short years. The Council had expected humans to be quiet junior members. Instead, humans asked questions, proposed ideas, and built relationships with many species. The Council required all members to share their diplomatic communications openly. Nothing could be hidden or secret. Humans followed this rule perfectly, broadcasting all official messages for anyone to hear. This perfect compliance made some council members suspicious. Elder Zovak of the Vavi, one of the oldest council members, watched humans with growing interest. "They hide nothing," Zovak said to Security Chief Kravler. "Every human diplomatic message is public, exactly as required." Kravler's insect-like head tilted. "Too perfect. No species adjusts to our ways so completely, so quickly." "Perhaps they truly are as adaptable as they claim," Zovak replied. "Or perhaps they have other methods we do not yet understand." The Vavi requested permission to place monitors at human military bases. Earth agreed without protest, which surprised the Council even more. Admiral Joe Foster walked through the halls of Earth Space Command with 2 Devi observers following. "And this is our Tactical Operations Center," he said, opening the doors to a room filled with screens and busy officers. The Vavi observers recorded everything, watching how humans communicated, how they trained. Human officers spoke clearly into their communication devices, following standard Council protocols for military transparency. "Your cooperation is appreciated," the lead Davi observer said. "Most species consider such monitoring an insult." Foster smiled politely. "We have nothing to hide. We hope our openness builds trust between our peoples." Later that night, after the observers left, Foster met with Earth Command in a secure room. General Laura Beck looked troubled. "How long do we maintain this charade?" she asked. "Every day they watch us, study us." "As long as needed," Foster replied. "Let them see what we want them to see. Let them hear what we want them to hear." Beck nodded slowly. "The training is progressing well. All frontline units now score 90% efficiency in silent operations." "Good," Foster said. "The galaxy thinks humanity is an open book. Let's keep it that way until we need to close it." Across Earth and its colonies, humans continued their lives under the watchful eyes of the Galactic Council. They smiled, they shared, they'd followed all the rules. And quietly, without speaking a word about it, they prepared for a day when talking might become a disadvantage. The alarms blared across Europa colony. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Men and women ran to emergency shelters as the colony's shields activated. "Azeri ships approaching," announced the colony eye. "This is not a drill." The Azeri were not part of the Galactic Council. They were raiders and pirates who attacked weaker worlds. Now they had set their sights on humanity's ice moon colony and its valuable minerals. In orbit around Earth, Council representatives gathered on their embassy station. Elder Zovak of the Davi watched the emergency broadcasts from Europa with concern. "We should send Council ships," said Delegate Sirith. "The humans cannot possibly defend against an Azeri attack. They are too new to space warfare." Security Chief Kravler clicked his mandibles. "The Azeri have 15 warships. Humans have only 5 vessels in the Jupiter system." A message appeared on their screens. Admiral Diane Washington, commander of Earth's Space Forces, appeared. Her dark skin looked pale under the emergency lights. "Council friends, we appreciate your concern," she said calmly. "Earth forces are responding to the situation. We will handle this matter ourselves." The Council members exchanged worried looks. "Admiral Washington," Elder Zovak said, "the Azeri are dangerous predators with advanced weapons. They have destroyed civilizations older than yours." Washington smiled slightly. "We understand the risk. Please monitor our response if you wish. All channels will remain open as per Council protocols." The connection ended. The Council members turned to their observation screens. 5 human ships moved to intercept the 15 Azeri vessels. The human captains broadcast their tactical communications openly, following Council rules perfectly. "Battle Group Delta, form defense pattern Echo 6, came Washington's voice over the channel. "Protect the colony at all costs." The human ships moved in what seemed like a disorganized pattern. They spread out, creating gaps in their formation. Security Chief Kravler shook his head. "Their tactics are amateur. The Azeri will cut through those gaps." The Azeri ships did exactly that. They pushed into the spaces between human vessels, forming a claw-like attack pattern. The human ships fired but missed many shots. They seemed to be falling into disarray. "They will lose," said Delegate Sirith sadly. "They should have accepted our help." Just as the Azeri ships closed in for the kill, something strange happened. All human communications suddenly went silent. Not a single transmission came from any Earth vessel. "Technical problem?" asked the Council observer. Kravler's compound eyes widened. "All 5 ships at once. Impossible." In the sudden silence, the human ships changed. Their seemingly random movements became a perfect dance of destruction. They moved in perfect coordination without saying a word to each other. Their weapons fired in precise patterns, catching Azeri ships in devastating crossfires. The Council members watched in stunned silence as the 5 human ships surrounded and systematically destroyed the 15 Azeri vessels. Each human ship seemed to know exactly what the others would do without any communication between them. Within 6 minutes, 12 Azeri ships were destroyed. The remaining 3 fled the system. Suddenly, human communications resumed. "Battle Group Delta to Earth Command. The Azeri threat has been neutralized. Europa colony is secure. We experienced communications difficulty during the engagement. Our apologies for the silence." The Council chamber remained quiet for a long moment. Finally, Elder Zovak spoke softly. "That was not a technical difficulty." Kravler's mandibles clicked rapidly. "How did they coordinate without speaking?" "We detected no signals, no transmissions of any kind." "I don't know," said Zovak, his ancient eyes troubled. "But I believe we have misunderstood humans from the beginning." On board her flagship, Admiral Washington allowed herself a small smile as she ended the transmission. The test had worked perfectly. Her crews had proven they could fight in complete communication blackout, using only pre-planned tactics and visual cues. The Council would have questions. She was ready with answers about technical difficulties. They wouldn't believe her, of course, but they couldn't prove otherwise. The real message had been sent without a single word being spoken. Humanity was not as helpless as everyone thought. The Galactic Council Security Chamber was filled with tension. Representatives from the most powerful species sat around the large circular table. Emergency lights pulsed softly, indicating the session was closed to the public. Security Chief Kravler stood before a large screen showing footage of the human-Azeri battle. His insect limbs moved with agitation. "The evidence is clear," Kravler said. "For exactly 6 minutes and 23 seconds, all human vessels ceased communications. During this period, they executed complex battle maneuvers with perfect coordination." Elder Zovak's ancient face showed deep concern. "Were any signals detected? Anything at all?" "Nothing," Kravler replied. "We used our most advanced detection equipment. No radio signals. No quantum communications. No telepathic emissions. Nothing." The doors opened and Peter Jackson, the human representative to the security committee, entered. He smiled pleasantly at the assembled aliens. His calm demeanor seemed out of place among the worried council members. "You requested my presence?" Peter asked, taking his seat. Elder Jovak leaned forward. "Representative Jackson, we are troubled by the recent incident at Europa. Can you explain how your ships coordinated their attacks without communication?" Peter looked surprised. "There was a technical issue with our communication systems. These things happen in battle. On all 5 ships simultaneously." Kravler clicked his mandibles in disbelief. "With perfect timing." Peter shrugged. "Space is filled with radiation, especially during weapons fire. Our systems are still being adapted to handle the unique conditions in the outer solar system." Nobody believed him. Peter didn't seem to care if they did. A tall plant-like being named Delegation Head Forest spoke next. "What concerns us is not the military victory. Your 5 ships defeated 15 Azeri vessels. This suggests human military technology is more advanced than you have disclosed." "Not at all," Peter said. "We simply had better tactics and brave crews." "Without communications," Kravler pressed. "How is this possible?" Peter smiled again. "I believe Admiral Washington's report covered the incident completely." The meeting continued for another hour. Peter answered every question without really answering anything. He was polite, friendly, and completely unhelpful. After Peter left, the security committee remained to discuss the situation. "They are hiding something fundamental about their species," Elder Jovak said. "Something we have overlooked." Kravler displayed more battle footage. "Look at this movement pattern. Each ship adjusts to the others instantly, with no delay for communication or decision-making. It's as if they share one mind." "Are they a hide species?" asked a representative from the Alagu Federation. "Some form of collective consciousness." "No," said Elder Jovak. "Their biology shows they are individuals, but somehow they can act as one when needed." Delegation Head Forest leaves rustled with concern. "This changes our threat assessment. If humans can coordinate military actions without detectable communication, they could potentially hide their intentions from us completely." "We should increase surveillance immediately," Kravler stated. "Place monitors on all human ships and colonies." Elder Jovak looked troubled. "They would detect such obvious measures. We need a more subtle approach." Meanwhile, in the Earth Embassy, Peter Jackson reported to the United Earth Defense Council via Secure Room. The chamber was specially built to block all possible forms of surveillance. "They're scared," Peter said. "Really scared. Not of our ships or weapons, but of how we fought." General Laura Beck nodded. "Good. That was the point of the demonstration." "They'll be watching us more closely now," Peter warned. "Let them," said Admiral Washington, who joined via Secure Link. "They'll only see what we want them to see." Peter looked concerned. "Elder Jovak is smarter than the others. He senses there's something about humans they've missed. He won't stop until he understands." "By then," said General Beck, "it will be too late." Outside the Earth Embassy, hidden council observers placed new surveillance devices. They watched human diplomats and soldiers with new nervous attention. For the first time since contact, the council species felt uncertain about the smiling, talkative humans who had joined their galactic community. The U.S. Defiant moved smoothly through the dark space between Mars and Jupiter. Captain Olivia Martinez sat in her command chair, watching her crew work. The ship carried 20 civilian scientists to a research station near Europa. "All systems normal, Captain," reported her first officer. Olivia nodded. She knew the truth. This was no ordinary journey. Intelligence had warned her that the Council planned to test human ships. They wanted to see if the silence during the Azeri battle was real or just chance. "Captain," called the sensor officer. "3 ships approaching fast, not responding to hails." Olivia didn't show any surprise. "Sound alert. Battle stations." Red lights flashed across the ship. Crew members moved quickly to their positions. Olivia opened the communication channel that broadcast to all Council species. "U.S. Defiant to approaching vessels. Please identify yourselves. We are on a peaceful science mission." No answer came. The 3 ships continued their approach. They were disguised as pirates, but Olivia recognized Council technology. "They're charging weapons, Captain," reported the tactical officer. "Defensive pattern Alpha," Olivia ordered clearly. "Shields up. Return fire only if fired upon." The ship moved into a standard defensive position. Everything by the book. Everything broadcast openly. Olivia knew that throughout the ship and even in nearby space, Council sensors were watching. They searched for any hidden signals, any secret communication methods. The pirate ships fired warning shots. The Defiant shook slightly. "Minor damage to shields," reported an officer. "They're herding us toward that asteroid field." Olivia nodded calmly. "Continue broadcast on all channels. Let's show we have nothing to hide." The attacking ships grew bolder. They fired again, this time aiming for the Defiant's engines. Olivia stood up. She looked at her crew. Each person met her eyes briefly. She gave one small nod. That was all. "Communications blackout," she said clearly into the open channel. "Switching to emergency protocols." Then all human transmissions stopped. The Council observers watched in fascination. Their most sensitive equipment detected nothing from the human ship, not a single communication signal of any kind. Yet the Defiant suddenly changed. Its movements became fluid and unpredictable. The crew worked in perfect harmony without speaking. Officers moved around the bridge with precise timing, never getting in each other's way. Olivia made small hand gestures. Crew members responded instantly. When she tapped 3 fingers on her chair, the weapons officer fired at the lead ship's engines. When she looked briefly at the navigation station, the helmsman executed a complex maneuver. The 3 attacking ships tried to coordinate their response, but they needed constant communication to do so. The humans needed none. Within minutes, the Defiant had disabled 2 enemy ships and forced the 3rd to retreat. Not a single word had been spoken, not a single signal sent. When it was over, Olivia returned to her chair and reopened communications. "U.S. Defiant to Earth Command. We experienced an attack by unknown vessels. The situation has been resolved with minimal damage. We had to initiate silent protocols during the engagement. Full report to follow." In the Council observation post, the aliens reviewed the data in stunned silence. "Nothing," said the lead technician. "We detected absolutely nothing during their silent period. No radio, no quantum signals, not even basic light flashes or Morse code." Elder Jovac watched the recording of the bridge during the battle. He studied how the humans moved, how Captain Martinez guided her crew with the smallest gestures. "This is not technology," he said slowly. "This is biological. This is how they evolved." The other observers looked confused. Every species in the Council evolved with clear communication as a survival trait. Jovac explained, "We developed calls, signals, telepathy. But humans," he pointed to the screen where Olivia's tiny hand movement had triggered an immediate ship-wide response. "They evolved to communicate without communicating." "That's not possible," said another observer. "Yet we just watched it happen," said Jovac. "And now I understand what truly makes humans dangerous." The Grand Lecture Hall of the Galactic University on Earth was filled with aliens from dozens of species. They had come to hear Frank Howard, a human anthropologist, speak about Earth's evolutionary history. Frank stood on the stage, looking at the curious faces before him. Some had tentacles, others had multiple eyes, and some floated in special atmosphere chambers. He knew that council scientists had suddenly become very interested in human evolution. "Thank you all for coming," Frank began. "Today I'd like to talk about how humans evolved as pack hunters on the African plains." The room grew quiet. Even the council observers in the back leaned forward. Unlike many species who evolved as prey animals or solitary hunters, humans developed in small, tight-knit groups that hunted large, dangerous animals, Frank explained. He showed images of early humans with simple spears surrounding a much larger animal. Our ancestors couldn't outrun their prey. They couldn't overpower it alone. They needed perfect teamwork to survive. Frank clicked to the next image. This created a unique evolutionary pressure. The human groups that could coordinate without making noise were more successful hunters. A Davi scientist raised a hand. "But all intelligent species develop language. How is this different?" "Good question," Frank replied. "Yes, we developed language, but we also kept our nonverbal abilities. Let me demonstrate." Frank invited 3 human students to the stage. "Without speaking, I'll communicate a complex idea to these volunteers." He made a series of subtle movements: a raised eyebrow, a slight head tilt, a small hand gesture. The 3 students immediately moved to different parts of the stage and pantomimed surrounding an invisible animal. The aliens watched in fascination. "What you just saw was what humans call reading the room, or body language," Frank explained. "We communicate through micro-expressions, posture, tiny movements, and shared context." An insectoid alien clicked its mandibles. "But how can such small signals convey complex ideas?" "Because we evolved to notice them," Frank said. "Human brains devote massive resources to facial recognition and social cues. We can detect a muscle movement as small as 0.1 millimeters on another human's face." He showed brain scans on the screen. "These areas light up when humans observe other humans, even when no words are spoken. We're constantly reading each other's intentions." The room was silent as the implications became clear. "Of course," Frank continued casually, "military training enhances these natural abilities. Elite human units can operate in complete communication blackout, coordinating complex maneuvers through pre-arranged signals that are nearly invisible to outside observers." Council representatives exchanged nervous glances. "This isn't a secret technology," Frank said, smiling at the council observers. "It's just how humans are. We've written about it in our literature for centuries. We've shown it in our entertainment. It's been there for anyone to see." After the lecture, Elder Jovac met with other council leaders in a secure room. "They weren't hiding this information," Jovac said. "It's been in their public records all along. We simply didn't understand its significance." Security Chief Kravlor paced nervously. "We need to review all human entertainment media. They've been showing us their capabilities openly." A Traxian merchant confirmed this. "Humans have many stories about military units continuing to function when communications fail. We thought they were just fantasies." "This changes everything," said Delegation Head Thora. "All our military doctrine assumes detectable communication. If humans can coordinate complex actions without any signals we can intercept, then we cannot predict their actions," finished Jovac. "And we cannot stop what we cannot predict." At Earth Command, Frank Howard reported to General Beck. "How did it go?" she asked. "They finally understand," Frank said. "I told them exactly what we can do, with evidence from our own evolution." "And their reaction?" Frank smiled. "Fear wrapped in scientific curiosity. The perfect combination." "Good," said Beck. "Now they know what we're capable of. The question is, what will they do with that knowledge?" Throughout council space, reports spread about the unusual humans who could act as one without speaking. Many species found this deeply unsettling. Some began to wonder what other surprising abilities these newcomers might possess. The emergency alarm sounded throughout the Galactic Council headquarters. Representatives from all 42 member species hurried to the Grand Chamber. News had spread quickly. The Borgos Collective was on the move. The Borgos were not part of the council. They were a powerful empire of linked species who wanted more territory. For years, they had stayed at the edges of council space. Now they demanded entire star systems, or they would take them by force. Grand Marshal Ixel stood before the gathered council. His scaled skin reflected the chamber lights as he pointed to a map of space. "The Borgos fleet has gathered here," he said. "They outnumber our border forces 3-1. Fear spread through the chamber. The Borgos were known for their brutal efficiency and advanced weapons. "We must deploy all available ships," said Delegation Head Fora, "including those from our newest members." All eyes turned to the human representatives. Admiral Samantha Wright sat calmly, studying the tactical displays. She was recently appointed to lead Earth's space fleet. "Human forces will, of course, support the Council," she said, "but I request permission to develop additional contingency plans." Grand Marshal Ixel looked suspicious. "What kind of contingencies?" "The Borgos rely heavily on intercepting communications," Wright explained. "Our ships could operate under silent protocols for key portions of the battle." The chamber grew quiet. Since the Azari incident and the Defiant test, everyone knew what silent protocols meant. Humans fighting without saying a word, coordinating in ways no other species could track or predict. Grand Marshal Ixel's tail twitched nervously. "You would engage the Borgos with no tactical communications." "At critical moments, yes," Wright confirmed. "The Borgos cannot counter what they cannot hear." The council debated for hours. Many were uncomfortable with the idea of human ships going dark during battle. Others feared the Borgos more than they feared human abilities. Finally, Elder Jovac spoke. "We have seen what human ships can do when they stop talking. It is unsettling. But against the Borgos, perhaps unsettling is exactly what we need." The vote passed. Admiral Wright was given permission to create a battle plan that included periods of human communication silence. 3 days later, Wright presented her strategy to the Council Military Command. Her plan placed human ships at key points in the defensive formation. At specific moments, they would go silent and execute pre-planned maneuvers. "The Borgos will expect our forces to react in certain ways," Wright explained. "When our ships suddenly change patterns without communication, it will create confusion in their ranks." Grand Marshal Ixel studied the plan carefully. "This could work, but it means trusting human ships to act without oversight during critical battle phases." "Yes," Wright said simply. Later, in a private meeting with human military leaders, Wright revealed more details. "The Council has approved our silent operations," she told them, "but they don't fully understand what we can do. They think we'll just follow pre-arranged plans when we go dark." General Beck smiled. "But we'll actually be adapting in real time based on the situation." "Exactly," Wright nodded. "Our ship captains are trained to read each other's intentions through movement patterns alone. We'll be coordinating the entire time, just not in ways the Council or Borgos can detect." 2 weeks later, the Borgos issued their final ultimatum. The negotiations had failed. Their massive fleet began moving toward Council space. Grand Marshal Ixel gave the order: "Deploy all defense forces as planned." And he hesitated, looking at Admiral Wright. "Authorize human fleet silent protocols as needed." Wright nodded. "Thank you, Marshal. My ships are ready." As the human fleet moved into position, Wright sent one last open message to all her captains: "Remember your training. Trust your instincts. When the time comes, silence will be our strongest weapon." Across human ships, crews prepared for battle. They knew what was coming: the first full-scale test of humanity's unique abilities against a powerful enemy who had no idea what they were about to face. The vast darkness of space lit up with weapons fire. The Borgos Collective attacked with overwhelming force, their ships moving in perfect formation. They outnumbered the Council fleet by hundreds of vessels. In the Council Command Center, Grand Marshal Ixel watched the battle unfold on giant screens. Council ships moved according to standard battle plans, their captains constantly communicating to coordinate their actions. "The Borgos are intercepting our communications," reported a sensor officer. "They're predicting our movements too easily." Ixel nodded grimly. "It is time. Signal Admiral Wright." On her flagship, Admiral Samantha Wright received the message. She took a deep breath and opened the general channel to all human vessels. "All Earth ships, this is Admiral Wright. The Borgos have broken our regular communication codes. Initiate silent protocol." "I say again, initiate silent protocol. Good hunting." With that final message, every human ship in the battle went completely silent. Not a single transmission emerged from any of the 80 human vessels thread throughout the Council fleet. The Council races watched in amazement as the human ships suddenly changed. Their movements, previously predictable and regular, became fluid and unpredictable. They moved as if they shared one mind. A human cruiser would start a maneuver, and ships far across the battlefield would instantly adjust to support it without any detectable coordination. They flowed around each other in complex patterns, somehow never colliding despite their high speed. The Borgos fleet faltered. Their strategy relied on intercepting enemy communications and predicting responses, but the human ships communicated nothing. They moved in ways that made no sense to Borgos tacticians. "How are they doing this?" demanded the Borgos commander. "Find their communication method." But there was nothing to find. The humans used tiny visual cues: the angle of a ship, the timing of a thruster burn, the pattern of movement. Things so subtle that only other humans recognized them as communication. On the Council command screens, the battle changed dramatically. Human ships slipped behind Borgos lines, striking critical targets with perfect timing. When Borgos vessels moved to counter them, they found other human ships already waiting, as if they had predicted the Borgos response. "Incredible," whispered Elder Jovac, watching beside Ixel. "They are fighting as one organism." The Borgos fleet began to fragment. Their formation, once perfect, broke apart as they tried to counter the unpredictable human attacks. In the confusion, Council ships pressed their advantage, following the openings created by human vessels. After hours of battle, Admiral Wright's flagship suddenly broke its silence. It broadcast a single message, not to Council forces, but directly to the Borgos command ship. "You cannot predict what you cannot hear." The message repeated on all frequencies, echoing through the Borgos communication systems. It was a simple truth that struck fear into the Borgos commanders. Faced with an enemy they could not understand or predict, the Borgos fleet began to retreat. Their losses mounted as human ships continued their silent, coordinated attacks during the withdrawal. When it was over, the Council chamber erupted in celebration. Species that had once feared human abilities now cheered them. Admiral Wright was invited to address the full Council. "Humanity is honored to fight alongside our Council allies," she said. "Today, our differences became our greatest strength." In a private ceremony later, Elder Jovac formally proposed changing humanity's status. The vote was unanimous. "From this day forward," announced Delegation Head Thora, "humans are granted full Council membership with a new designation, the Silent Partners." As the ceremony concluded, Elder Jovac approached Admiral Wright. The ancient alien's eyes showed a mix of respect and lingering unease. "We have always feared the silence of space," Jovac said quietly. "Now we understand there is something more terrifying, the silence of humans thinking together." Wright smiled. "Not terrifying, Elder, just different." "Perhaps," said Jovac. "But remember this truth, Admiral. The moment humanity stopped talking, the Galactic Council knew fear. And from fear came respect." Throughout Council space, the story spread of the battle where humans fought without words. Species that had dismissed Earth as a minor player now studied human culture with new interest. They watched human sports teams coordinate without speaking. Human dancers move in perfect sync. Human children play complex games through glances and gestures. And they wondered what other surprises their silent partners might reveal in the years to come.